Yes, I know being a furry has meant a lot for you. I talked about how being a furry helped me in the past when I was younger. Wow, old video. But what about the difficult parts of being a furry back in school days? Hi everyone, this is Xylee the Fox. Today, I am an adult, some might say. But back when I was a teen, being a furry was... Che, ¿querés un mate? Mira que está re piola. Pero toma tirada acá, zorro rojo queriendo figurar. En fin, nada nuevo. As I was saying, when you're young, being part of a group is essential as we come together with what later on will be our personality and our identity. However, it's crystal clear that not everyone around us will understand what this is all about. It's true though that nowadays society is more accepting than it was, for example, 10 years ago, or when I was a teen, or when most of my friends were teens. I am almost 30, guys. And 15 years ago, being a furry was reason enough to suffer lots of mistreatments, not only at school, but also by family members, believe it or not, and random people in the streets. School life is crucial when we are growing up. Most of our social circle is there, and apart from our family, our classmates are the people we see the most during that period in our lives. Seeking acceptance at that stage is common, and the experiences we go through as teenagers often leave a lasting mark, shaping how we navigate social situations in the future. When I was in school, I wasn't just a closeted furry, I was bunkered. Right, I think I am exaggerating, but yeah. I knew my class could be cruel at times, and if they found out I secretly enjoyed anthropomorphic arts and dreamt of one day becoming a big animal in a suit, I was obviously gonna be mocked. Now looking back, I understand why some teens and even adults reacted the way they did towards furries back in the day. 15 years ago, there was barely any information about us. The concept wasn't just unfamiliar, it was shocking. I can empathize with how overwhelming it might have been to see someone you knew wearing a fursuit or engaging with furry content. Even though we like to think ourselves as open-minded and accepting, as humans, we tend to resist change and the unfamiliar at first. I am not saying we always reject it, but we do take our time to process it. Nowadays, my former classmates who still keep in touch with me are completely accepting of my furry side, but back in the day, not at all. They kind of avoided the topic altogether. And yes, I am totally implying that my classmates found out I was a furry. The names I was called, oh my gosh, they might surprise you. On a similar note, as friends and social acceptance at school, family is supposed to be also one of our biggest sources of support. Sometimes they struggle to understand us too. Again, this is not something they do on purpose, but rather because this furry lifestyle we want to endure can draw our parents to things they don't recognize, and therefore that they might resist. Parents from the countryside, like mine used to be, might not be used to new trends or subcultures. I am sure that if you happened to grow up in a small town or a place which was a little remote, this might have also represented a problem for you. A conservative family has its origins in how they grew up in the past. What does this mean? This means that the environments they have always seen encompass traditions that shaped their world, and anything, absolutely anything outside of that can seem strange or even threatening. This is so since, for more old-fashioned parents, the idea of their child being a furry is already difficult to grasp. But on top of that, add to this issue the fact that the furry fandom has close ties to the LGBTQ+ community. Do you picture what I'm trying to say here? My parents were very homophobic at the time I was a teen. For me, if they suddenly discovered the ties the furry fandom had with queerness, that was checkmate on my whole life. A common problem 15 years ago was that families not understanding the boundaries of the furry fandom. Being a furry will not make your kid homosexual. I mean, yes, I am gay, but not because I'm a furry, alright? The point is, when all relatives see this connection, adding to their lack of information, having a furry child might obviously become more than just weird to them. It's something they don't want to deal with. Even in my own family, there was this resistance. To them, the furry fandom wasn't just unusual, it was childish. It was something that I would grow out of. I see their point now, since being a furry does not define my life, and in fact, for me, this is all just a hobby. Yet, in their eyes, this furry thing had no future, no purpose. It was, according to them, just a phase I would leave behind, which, when I was 15, kinda hurt to hear. Fortunately, they eventually understood, which might also be your case. But even when they reached the point of tolerance, that didn't mean I had their support. I was alone in this. If I wanted to commission art, meet other furries outside my town, or even dream of getting a fursuit, I was on my own, financially speaking. No matter how much I cared about this world, my family wasn't going to invest in something they didn't understand. Is this something that also happened to you? Because back in the day, this lack of support was very common. On another note, I believe that one of the biggest victories I had when becoming an adult was being able to live my own life. And even now that my parents are not around anymore, I feel I can be myself without owing anything to anyone. However, what was it like to be a furry in public? 15 years ago, at least in Argentina, the country where I live, furries were rare and not very well understood. Even up to the day, I was not the type of person who went out, and on top of that, I didn't have anything furry related to take with me. I didn't have a badge, I didn't have pins, and having a fursuit was not even an option. So I will talk from what I could observe in others. From my own experience, I saw that people likely had various misconceptions based on their limited exposure to what furries were. Remember that here I'm talking from my perspective as an observer, not as a performer. Back then, the internet wasn't as widespread as it is today, and niche communities like the furry fandom were mostly known through online spaces. Many people probably saw furries as just another bizarre internet trend, something that didn't exist in the real world. If they saw someone dressed as an anthropomorphic animal, they might have assumed it was just part of an obscure online subculture, similar to how people viewed anime fans or cosplayers at the time, something foreign and disconnected from everyday life. If you look it into perspective, it made sense. But nowadays, even if the passing of time did its thing and made the furry fandom more visible, there are people out there ill-judging, giving a weird look when I go out fursuiting, for example. The same happened with the online article I shared on X, where I and some other furries here in Buenos Aires were interviewed. The comment section was full of people insulting just out of mere ignorance or lack of information. Prejudices are big in society, but that is likely to continue, as I said before, since the human race is naturally hostile towards change and the unfamiliar. Something else that I noticed back in was that because furries involved cartoonish animal characters, many people might have assumed it was simply a hobby for children, like watching animated movies or playing with stuffed animals. The idea that adults could engage in something like this and take it seriously was likely difficult for many to understand or not to feel awkward around. With so little information available, and with furries only appearing in niche online spaces or occasionally on the media, often in a negative or exaggerated light, people might have associated the fandom with something strange or even suspicious. If they heard about it through gossip or sensationalized media coverage, they might have thought it was something inappropriate or secretive. The fact that furries weren't commonly seen in public only fueled the mystery, and for some, a sense of discomfort or distrust. 15 years ago, being a furry in Argentina felt like stepping into unknown territory. It was something rare, misunderstood, and often met with confusion or skepticism. But times have changed. Today, furries are more visible, more accepted, and more connected. Schools have students who openly embrace the fandom, or that I've seen before. Conventions and meetups are growing in the region, and people are more informed. Of course, there are still old-fashioned families who struggle to understand, and some furries who keep this part of their identity hidden. But little by little, those situations are becoming less common. Society has opened up, and what once seemed strange is now just another way of expressing creativity and belonging. And that, in itself, is proof that we are moving forward. I hope you have enjoyed this video. How long have you been a furry for? Have you been through something like this before in your life? And if so, what's your story? Don't hesitate and share it in the comment section. I would really like to read it. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Take good care of yourselves. Yeah.